Punch Counterpunch has to be my absolute favorite character in all of Transformers fiction. He's the main reverse triple changer that exists, if not realistically the only one, and the two colors that they have for this guy are absolutely fantastic. Now I have here the Power of the Primes one, which in my personal opinion I think is the better one, as well as the War for Cybertron one here in the slightly lighter colors with the non-red rims. The Power of the Primes one also comes with Prime of Prime and a Prime Armor accessory, which is basically just a big combiner hand, whereas the War for Cybertron one does not. The Power of the Primes one also just has more paint on it in general. I also really like the way these layered windows work. It kind of gives Harrant the faux chest just as a smaller version. You can see here that both of them have really nice paint apps with the taillights on the War for Cybertron one and the taillights on the Power of the Primes one, as well as both of them having painted headlights. It is just a really nice figure, and it scales incredibly well with modern stuff. He is a big deluxe, I will say that. He is rather tall and large for a deluxe class of this era. Man, oh man, is this just a really good mold in general. We're going to do the nice one. We're going to transform the nice one, in my opinion, and then we'll transform this one off screen. It's really simple. It's such a cool thing. You kind of want to just make sure that these tabs under the windshield here are popped up, and then just split the whole car down the middle. And from there, you just grab these parts. It cleans up really nice on the bottom too. Grab these two bits and bring them down. And then if it moves on these car bits, just move it so it all comes up and collapses. We can separate that right there, and you can see basically where everything else goes. I really like the way that everything just kind of folds up into the legs, and yeah, they're kind of hollow, but they kind of have to be. Split this here and bring the arms down. These are a little bit of a pain, so I'm gonna just pop these up, bring those down, fold this up and into the chest, and then to get Punch, just flip the helmet back and bring these, and there's these tabs on his shoulders, and you can plug those in right there, and that's how you get Punch. And then get Counterpunch. To get Counterpunch, give me one moment and we'll get it back into that kind of standing with the arms configuration. So once you got him kind of like this, you want to take the hands and fold them around. He has alternate hands for the other side. Come over here, bring these shoulder pads straight out like that. So just rotate them and then slam them down to click into place, and then bring this down, fold that up into the chest, and make sure the helmet, if it's pushed down like that, push it back. And there we have them. Now I do have their original guns, which are these little pea shooter things. Let me see if I can find them real quick. I thought I knew what they were. I apparently do not, but I do have this, which is this upgrade kit for them that gives Punch and Counterpunch their G1 styled weapons. So that's what we're going to use for the rest of the video, because I think they look better and I like that more. Punch, the Autobot, and Counterpunch, the Decepticon. Getting Punch Counterpunch into his robot modes, question mark, since he has two, is a breeze, and it's also so nice to see all those details come out from his robot modes. Punch here has a nice mouth plated face. I believe this is accurate to the toy, I think, because in the show he had a mouth, and you can see just how quickly it is that you can spin this guy around and flip up that other head. It really, really is a breeze. And on that alternate head, you can see the little mouth plate there, or the little mouth, I should say, as well as those nice red eyes. It looks really good. Counterpunch looks so good. And you can see the differences between the two modes, or the two paint jobs on their different modes, with those red wheels and the lighter color blue, although the heads, oddly enough, kind of look like they're almost the same shade to me. Also those black upper arms as well, but other than that, I think that's the main differences. Oh, and the hands are a different color on the War for Cybertron one. So slight differences, but overall both of these make acceptable counterpunches. I still like the Power of the Primes one. Now Punch is a different story, as the War for Cybertron one is Nightbeat colored, which is a reference to the Creon.
And the Power of the Primes one has those nice details picked out on the thighs. And is also the right color. That doesn't mean either of them are bad or one is better than the other, except the Power of the Primes one is better. I'm just saying that one has a little bit more paint. Now, comparing these guys to some modern stuff such as Optimus Prime and Toxie and Grimlock, you can see that they're quite big for deluxes. They really, really do stand out. Even of the era they're from, they're big, making them stand out just a little bit more nowadays.
Articulation on these guys for Power of the Primes figures is pretty good, or at least standard. So, starting with Punch, he has a ball jointed head, which is pretty nice, a little bit side to side, but full 360, although you might not want to, considering he has a different head on the other side. But yeah, full 360 there. Arms are on ball joints, so they go out. If you move some pieces, you can get them further out. You do have to just kind of work with the arm kibble, which does kind of suck, but hey, at least it can get out of the way. He has a bicep swivel, a little bit past 90 at the elbow, little bit. No wrist swivel whatsoever. He does have a waist swivel. It's very tight. Legs go forward just shy of 90, go back also just shy of 90, probably because he has to. Legs go out about that far. He does have a thigh swivel. It's also very tight and slightly limited. His knees go 90 and also go opposite 90. And then he has cuts right there. And that's, again, he probably doesn't have ankle tilts or even feet purely because they have to have him flip around. And speaking of that, it's right here. Same articulation, just the shoulder pads kind of get less in the way because of how they're kind of sitting on top. But other than that, that's the only difference in articulation. And yeah, he does have the nice kind of sculpted feet on the other side, which does help the illusion a little bit, but both are fine. And you can honestly spin the waist around if you really want to, or if you really wanted to give Punch the molded front feet, you can swap the legs around, and then just whenever you transform him, 360 his waist. So that way to get that. But yeah, pretty decent posability overall on these two. I will say his joints are a little looser, like just everything about this one is a little bit worse than the Power of the Primes version.
In closing, Punch Counterpunch is an amazing mold, and if you have the chance to pick it up, I highly, highly recommend it. It's one of those figures that we don't get a lot of, and I don't see us getting a better one than this for a while. This definitely seems like the go-to Punch Counterpunch mold that they're going to use, and that's perfectly fine, especially since this mold still holds up nowadays. It's pretty easy to find, despite the fact that he was an Amazon exclusive both times, but that doesn't mean he's cheap. He is kind of expensive for what he is, and that's just a nice big deluxe. But if you're a fan of this character and you're like me, where you're like, oh my god, I gotta have him because he's my favorite, I definitely think it's worth tracking down both of these. Each has their own good parts and their own bad parts. But as always, let me know what you guys think about this character, and I'll see you in the next one. This has been Bot's Obsession.